Hey everyone, today we're doing something very fun. We're gonna build a website. Yeah. Okay. Hey guys, just a quick note, I didn't put any music in this video, and it's because I'm suggesting that you listening to the Sky soundtrack while we code today. There should be a link on the video right now, or if there's not, then it's in the description, both for Spotify and for YouTube. So yeah, listen to that while we do this. Or listen to whatever you want. You can do that. So we're gonna be building a website with HTML and CSS. This video is for beginners or people who maybe just feel like watching it and like websites. You're welcome here. Welcome to my video. Oh my god, I can't believe it's you. I was waiting for you to watch this. Wow. Sorry. One night a few weeks ago, I had a dream, a premonition, if you will. And in my brain, I envisioned the ideal template. And it's probably not a new idea, but just the most fundamental but functional website template. And it's simple, and that's what we're building today. Did I describe that okay? I just think it's the best. If you're a beginner and you don't know what you're doing, it teaches you a lot of elements, but it's not overcomplicated, but yet it offers a lot. Maybe let's look at an image of it. This is the template that we're going to be building today. As you can see, we have got space for a photo or a video. We have space for a little self-descriptor or whatever you want, a little status update, something like that. And then we have a whole space that's bigger. You can make it any height you want, and it's for an index of things, which can then, from there, you can click around to more web pages on that website or to other websites. But the thing is, it's really frustrating looking at Linktree shit. Nobody, I'm just here trying to eliminate Linktree. That's my goal. Nothing against them. It's very handy. It's handy. But today, if you're looking to spruce it up a little bit, create your own Linktree, but also make it your entire website. Because that's just what a Linktree is. Is any of this making sense? Is any of this? So the idea is that we have a space to show ourselves or show something that we like. We have a space to describe who we are, and we have a space to do whatever we want in a list of links or of posts that we have the freedom to design with CSS once we get the layout done. And there's lots of space to expand with this template because you can add, maybe you want to make the photo a photo gallery that people click the image and it changes to the next one. You could totally do that with it. Maybe you want cool hover effects. You can build on top of this and do things like that. You can do anything you want. Add some JavaScript after. I'm not the boss of you. Whatever you want from here, which is just the fundamental ideal template, in my humblest opinion. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. So I hope you're freaking excited, because I am. Okay. I just spent all day kind of coding it, putting it together, and now I'm going to show you how it works. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to go eat some food, but you're not going to see any of that. And then I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to show you how to make this website on glitch.com. We love glitch.com. We can make free websites on glitch.com. Not sponsored. Okay, so we're going to go to glitch.com. While I go eat my food, you're going to go to glitch.com. You're going to tap on your little keyboard. You're going to say glitch.com, and you're going to see the whole world flash before your eyes. You're going to see your life. You're going to understand reality. So here's the website that we're going to be making. Pretty exciting. Oh, and I'll show you the smaller version as well. And there you go. It's also reactive. As you can see, it's quite reactive. We've got 3 stages of reactivity. So that's pretty cool. So to start making our website, we go to glitch.com. My username is Grass. You can follow me if you so please. I don't actually know if you can follow people. I'm just saying that. Once you make an account and log in, we'll go up to New Project, and you just click it, and you go Glitch Hello Website. So here's what Glitch is going to give us. They're going to give us all these little things, and, you know, we can just do what we want with it from there. I'm actually going to open up in my other tab the website that I already made so that I can just copy and paste, but I'm going to go step by step with you. Okay? Yeah. So this is what you're going to want your page to look like when you start. We need this char set so that all our characters will show up, like commas and apostrophes. And this little viewport metadata, it just helps everything show up in the right aspect ratios and all that. Then you can add a title, and you can make it whatever you want. I just chose my name because it's basically going to be a portfolio website, like a personal web page. But anything you want. Then we're linking to the style sheet. This is how that looks. Link rel equals style sheet, declaring that it is a style sheet, and then linking it. Href is for referring to a link or a file. And then just go to the style sheet. So /style.css, because we've got that right here. And then we close our head. So everything in here is just like data that we're gonna need for the web page. So now we're moving into the body of this website. And this is the wonderful part. You might have seen that this website is a div with 3 other divs inside of it. So our divs can either have a ID or a class. The only difference is that an ID can only be used once on the web page, whereas a class can be used more than once, multiple times, and you can have multiple classes for an element and all that. And the reason why they need these is because when we go to style them, we need a way to tell our computer, hey, could you please style this element? Thank you so much, and then it will do that. Because this is our wrapper div, this is the div that holds everything else, I'm going to call it house. So it has the ID of house. Now our next div, so I like to think of this template as like a house with a little family inside of it. Maybe someone can style it to look like an actual house. But anyways, so the class of this one is going to be our maternal figure, Jane. Thank you so much, Jane. And now our next div, I'm going to call him Max. Our more masculine, I don't know why I want a feminine and a masculine character in this house, but I do. I like the balance happening there. And then our final div is called Rufus. And Rufus is the family pet. To me, it's a dog, but it can be whatever animal you want. You know, the whole family dynamic within our house div can be however you like it. Please tell me how you see your family dynamic within your div. I would love to know. But for me, it's Jane and Max and Rufus. And to me, Jane and Max are like, they've just moved in together and they're like just experiencing living with a partner for the first time, and Rufus is there to ease all the tension. Yeah. All right. Now from here, we can start adding some content. Why not? Just get the content in there. So, actually, I want to do a H1, thank you very much. And so I'll do my name. So that's my copy that I'm throwing in. You can make it say whatever you want. You can put whatever you want. So when it comes to text, we have a few options. We can do header 1, which is H1, header 2, header 3, header 4, so on. And those ones are just going to be more bold. It's nice for styling those headers differently. And then we have a paragraph, object. And it's just a P. That's it. And later we'll get to the link element that looks like that, just an A. And we always want to open and close every single one. Yeah, so the computer knows this is when I start listening to that, and this is when I'm gonna stop listening to that. It's very organized and pretty simple to understand, I think. Now we're gonna throw an image in here. We've got a source and an alt. This is the picture that I'm gonna use, and I'll be using it a couple times on our website actually. And maybe I'll go over that right now. So first of all, we're gonna put it in here. And for the alt, it's just a description of the image. And I'm gonna say Tiana being a bard in her room. Fair enough. And something we're gonna add now is the favicon as well, which is gonna be what shows up there in the corner of your little web page. So I'm gonna link my image, that same image, under href, which is href and source, src, that's where we put links or paths to files when we're calling a file. Fair enough. And now, under Rufus, we're gonna have a link, and we're gonna have a paragraph. And I'm gonna copy and paste some stuff here later, but just to start, I'll actually put hello world, as you do. Don't know what I was thinking. So we've got a link and we've got a paragraph. And we'll dive into what we're gonna do with that later. So this is basically the entire structure of this website. This is basically everything. And now we're just styling it to make it actually work and function in a way that looks nice and that we can continue to edit and stuff like that, whatever. First of all, before we go any further, we're gonna click format this file, and let's change the title of this. What should we call it? The ideal template. The ideal template, and that'll be at theidealtemplate.glitch.com. .me actually. I can't spell. There we go. So this is what it's showing up as right now, which is beautiful on its own. This is actually really pretty as well. We love just a simple early web aesthetic. This is fantastic. But we're gonna turn it into this. Why not? All of this with a bit of CSS, just the use of a little style sheet, can become this. And it's so cute. Look at how cute it is. So that's our HTML. Let's move on to styling it. Here we are in the style sheet, our blank canvas. Very exciting. We're gonna be giving Jane and Max and Rufus a whole new makeover. It's gonna be wonderful. I'm gonna be doing a bit of copy and pasting as this goes on because who needs to write everything out? I don't. So here we are. We have our little asterisks, and this symbol is going to actually impact every single element on our page. We want everything to have a margin of 0, everything to have a line height of 1.6, and we want everything to have a font family of Courier New monospace. And when we're declaring a font, we want to put the ideal font to show up first, and then if the computer doesn't have that, then it moves on to monospace, and so on, with a comma separating them. And the line height, if you're familiar with design at all, you know what a line height is. It's just the space between lines of characters. That's what that is. What have we got for our body? We've only got background color linen. And you can make it whatever you want. You can make it green. Let's see what we've done so far. Ta-da! Beautiful website. Done. Look at me being a bard. Okay. So we see the changes are being made. But yeah, I like linen a lot. It's probably my favorite HTML color. Let's get into our headers, because that's what comes up next. As we can see in our HTML, we kind of like to keep it in order of what we see so that the HTML and the CSS is kind of easier for anybody to read. You know, as you can scroll through the HTML code, you can kind of see it at the same time in the CSS. So we like to code as if we're coding for somebody else to look at it, you know? So next up after our body, well, we've got our divs, but we're going to do that later. We're going to focus on our text elements first and the basics of how we want them to show up. So we have our headers, and I'm using only header 1 actually, but you have the option here. You could add a header 2, not there, sorry. Here you could add a header 2 to label this section and say my blog or my portfolio, something like that, you know? So now we're gonna go here. Ta-da! So yeah, you have to type it out, but why would I type it out? Anyway, so we've got header 1 and header 2. Font weight normal, because the thing is with our header elements, they are bold, so we have to tell them stop that if we want to. If we don't want to, we don't have to tell them. It's just fine. You can just leave that out if you want them bold. Yeah. Sorry, I just ate. Okay. I'm freaking gassy right now. Color forest green. It's kind of funny, isn't it, that we don't have to say font color. No, it's just color. When we're changing the color of a font, it's just color. And we're spelling in American English for some reason. Now let's edit our link elements, because this is just another one that we have to set up the defaults for. In our style sheets, we set up asterisks in the body, and then we set up the defaults for the elements, and then after the defaults for like general elements, we get into more specific things like specific divs and getting into designing the grids and all that. So let's set up our links. A. And A actually stands for anchor. So I imagine that means it's an element that's anchored to another web page or file. Okay, so we set up the defaults for it because it has a few different options. There's how it shows up regularly, and for me, I'm choosing the color settled brown. And naturally, links are underlined, so I'm just saying don't do that with text decoration. And then anchor hover. So when someone puts their cursor over top of our anchor, it's going to become underlined. And then if someone has visited our anchor link, then it'll turn forest green when they revisit the web page or after they click it. And this is nice, especially when we have a really long index, because people can kind of keep track of where they've been. So now we're moving on to editing our grid. Very exciting. So first of all, we're going to set up a few little things, some housekeeping, if you will. So we're setting the width. The width will be 600 pixels, pretty straightforward. Margin, here what this is doing is centering our div in the body of our website. So it's going to show up in the middle, 0 auto. But then I'm like, but I want the top and the bottom to be 80 pixels, so there's just some space at the bottom and top, and that's what that's going to do. The thing you want to know when you're styling CSS is that the one on top is going to be implemented first. It reads from the top down. So if these were on top, if the margin top and margin bottom, if they were placed up here, then our house isn't actually going to listen to those. It's going to just do margin 0 auto. So we don't want that. And then the padding is just going to give that space away from the rest of the divs inside, which we'll see later. So now we're going to make it into a grid because our house isn't a grid yet. So we display grid, and I think actually sometimes people like to put the grid at the very top. Usually you put the display first, so I guess let's just put it up here. So display grid. Now you can also do inline grid, but personally I hardly even know what that really means. It's inline, that's what it is. But we're just doing grid, don't worry about inline, but you can look that up if you want. And then we're going to template the columns. So basically, the nice thing about using repeat when we're templating a grid is that If we wanted to add more, it would be as simple as just copying and pasting, and it'll be formatted for us. So when we use repeat, the way that we format it is going to be repeated. And there's a lot of different ways to format a grid. I'm not going to get into it, but I will include a really helpful link for grids in the description, and also up there if that's a possibility, up here. And if you look at that document, I could do a whole video on grids, but I'm still kind of even learning. So this just goes to show you don't need to be an expert in HTML or CSS to make something really cool, because it's so much copying and pasting. And we want every single element in our grid to have a gap between it. We want it to have some space to breathe, so we're giving it a 20 pixel gap. So we're starting off with formatting whatever div happens to be in our house. So this is a cool little CSS function. If we use this little alligator character, then it'll say any div that is within house, please edit that. And that's what it's doing here. So we're adding a border to each one. We're just styling it up, giving it some swag. We're giving it a border, why not? And setting the height, we want 300 pixels high, at least for this aspect ratio. And we want the background color to be linen. And I also want to add a border to our house. So we're styling Jane. Look at her, she is so fashionable. Max width is 300 pixels. Overflow Y is automatic. So if you end up putting too much content for the size of the div, now with this element, any extra text that goes over the height or width of this div is going to be scrollable, so you can scroll through. I'm actually going to surround these elements in another div. This is the div where we style the insides, and the div outside of it is its home. Makes sense. So J content. So we see this is what happens when we don't put it in a content div. Because we're going to be adding padding to it, without the inside div, that padding is going to show up on the outside. So that we don't mess with the dimensions of it, we're making another div. Now let's just quickly style Jane's paragraphs. So we just do .jane, which means in the class of Jane, and then we are styling the paragraph elements. So in the class of Jane, please style the paragraphs. We open the brackets, change the font color to saddle brown, which is better than brown. It's weird. HTML brown is like really maroon, so it's kind of funny. There you go. Now let's give Max some fashion. Let's make him a little more stylish with the times. So simply, a great function that we're going to use is object fit. Now, in previous attempts with CSS, I've made the image a background image, and it just kind of is pretty clunky that way. Luckily now we have object fit, where we can get an image inside of a div to cover the whole div, which has been a problem with HTML, CSS, making websites where you want an image to cover an entire div. It's been Googled a lot. So this is how you do it. Let's set the width and height to 100% and set the object fit to cover so that we don't get like a squishy effect. If we didn't have object fit, it would look really funny. Let's check out how funny it looks. That looks kind of funny. So now we're getting onto Rufus, the beautiful family dog. What breed is Rufus? I'm seeing Rufus as like a beagle. I'm picturing a beagle. So Rufus is covering grid column 1 to 2. So we don't have to, because we're using repeat, we don't have to specify anything about the rows that it's in. All we have to say is that Rufus goes from the first column to the second one, so it's going to cover our entire grid because we only have a 2-column div. So that's how we get that to work. Overflow Y, scroll, And I have this set to scroll, but it could also be set to auto in case there's no scrolling needed yet. But if we say scroll, the scroll will show up no matter what. But if we say auto, it'll show up when it needs to. Hello, okay. And we're setting the color to saddle brown. Fantastic. Boom. Now let's just set up the inside of Rufus, and then we have the basics of this set up. And I'm actually going to change the padding right now to 60, just for now. Ta-da! Looks really pretty. So for Rufus's paragraphs, and as well for Rufus's header 2, which is what I'm using, but if you're using header 1, you can say header 1, but I'm just using that. We're setting the margin to 0 and the padding to 20 pixels. And the reason why we're doing it this way is because now when we go Rufus P, we're going to add a border on the bottom, which will act as a separator for each element. Now, something I'm doing wrong right now, actually let's see, maybe I can do this with A, I don't know. We'll find out right now, we're experimenting. So now we're gonna actually say, hey, actually could you do this here as well, please? And our computer will say, sure. But here's our problem. Here's our problem. So when we have links in this, we're actually gonna be surrounding them. Actually, I have to throw a paragraph inside of the link. Glitch likes to do some automatic formatting, which is fine. And now this whole paragraph element will be anchored. Boom, beautiful. And now I'm actually going to set a link to this anchor, because I haven't done that yet. Let's say href. Let's just go to my website, my personal website. Computer. And we're gonna say target blank. Oopsie, I need to put a quote. There, great. And what target blank is gonna do is it's gonna take us to a new page. So there we go. And now you can see it's green because I've been there before, because we've set our anchors to turn that color when the person has visited them. Something nice to do might be to make the paragraphs and the links different colors, but just, you know, you can do that on your own time. Just change the color of the link to something else if you want to. But yeah, so here is the basic setup of it all. If you wanted to have a header, you could actually add for that and for that. Let me just separate with a comma. Ta-da! And now it's all nicely spaced out. We've got our header and a link and a paragraph. Fantastic. And we can scroll through this. And we've got this here. One thing I'm going to do is that if someone ever wants to see the full image, they can click on it to open it in a new tab. So I'm going to say href target blank. And we can copy this link. And what else we can do for this anchor is add a title. And now, when the person hovers it, it'll tell them that they can click it. Ta-da. So here's the basics of this template. This is actually set up for a smaller screen. What I actually like this to look like on my bigger screen is this. I need to change these to ID. Okay, now let's see how it looks with this new reactivity. Ta-da! So I just like how this looks better. But then when I carry it to my 1080 HD screen, it fits on there a little bit better. And I've also moved it down a little bit more so it's a little bit more centered. And yeah, we can still click to open. Oh my god, I just left to have some water, but then it went completely down the wrong pipe. So I'm recovering. Anyway, I was losing stamina. I didn't want to have low stamina for this part, because here we are. We have made the ideal template. Here it is in front of our eyes. We've got our bio section. We've got our pictures section, which we could also make a video element if we wanted. And we've got our portfolio or our blog or our index, where we can have links and paragraphs and whatever we want. And let's take a look at how that scrolling function that I mentioned would look like. So I'm going to copy this, just paste it a bunch of times. And I'm going to change this to say index. Now we can scroll through. Very nice. And now finally, just so that the template is set up, after this we're going to do a little tiny bit more styling, but let's just paste the rest of our reactive code. Ta-da! Now you can pause and take a look at that and take and leave what you will. A lot of it is really up to you. Now when it goes smaller, it's easy to work with, and it'll be a good size on our phone. Now one other thing I like doing is using gradient backgrounds. There's so much you can do with gradients in CSS. And what I've decided to do today is a radial gradient, as you can see right here. So background image, radial gradient. And so you can use 2 colors, you can use 3 colors, you can use a bunch of colors, but I'm just using 3. And from here, now you can see that I have a cute little like glowing green circle in the background, and I think that's really charming. And it just adds more contrast. Our eye has more of an idea of where it's supposed to go now, which is sweet. We're literally done. And if you don't want this header, you literally just delete it, and you just have an index of whatever you want. And you can copy and paste as many of these as you want as well. If I just go and copy and paste Rufus here, I'm just gonna have another one. Ta-da! So here now we can just copy and paste and you're all good. Another thing I'm gonna add is this cute little snippet of code that will make our little scrolling guys look really cute. Now, one thing is that it doesn't really work on Firefox, but it does work on Chrome. So here we can see the customized scroll bars in action. And I just think they look so much more fresh. So I've just found out how we can make this work in Firefox. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do also linen. Okay. So now we've also added a little bit of customization to our scroll bars, both on Firefox and in Chrome. So let's just check that it's still working right in Chrome. Yeah, so in Chrome it shows up a little bit nicer. For some reason, I don't know. There's probably a way to make it look like this in Firefox, but I just don't know how to do that right now. But here we have it in Chrome. I like the scroll bars here. And then in Firefox, it just looks a little bit different. Just looks like this. But it matches the color palette, and that's ideal. And one thing I wanted to experiment with adding was a little sound file. And I'm imagining a little sound file either in between Rufus and Jane and Max or underneath Rufus. So let's see how that might look. Class equals radio. We've got Jane and Max's and Rufus's radio in their house. So now I have to upload an audio asset. Let's see. Okay, I found a little playlist, a Walk to Remember playlist that I made for my friend Shay for a little Secret Santa. Anyway, we're gonna drag it in here. It's uploading. It's kind of a big file. And we're just gonna add our audio element. Now we go here, we go to our radio, and actually we're also going to add audio. And we're going to say the height is 100%, and the width is 100%. We're getting somewhere. there you go. Oh my gosh, we did it. I just keep playing with the margin at the top. It's really up to personal preference there. Great, so it does fit even in mobile, which is so perfect. So now you see on mobile, we have both our divs, which we can scroll through. We have our audio and all that, and even more. Just a super easy template to add more to and stuff like that. And let's quickly check how it's looking in Chrome. Yeah, a lot of building websites is like checking that it's looking kind of the same everywhere. So that's what we're doing here. And I really like how this looks right now. I made a couple final changes. I just made our two Rufus, our two little puppy dog divs, more specific in their purpose. So now we have an index one, which is labeled with a header, and it's all links. And we can change the URL that it takes us to here, and we can change what it presents, what message it presents to the user here. And we can add or delete as many as we want, and it will automatically scroll once the list gets long enough. And we can always change the height of the div in our CSS. As well, I've templated this to look more like a blog. So we have the blog header here, and then we can change this to say whatever we want. So here we are. Here's the final tour of our website, of our ideal template. So we have this little square for all of our personal information, a little introduction, our name or the title of whatever this web page is for, and our image or a video if you want to figure that out, and we can click it to open it in a new tab to get a bigger view. And also what we can do is we can have it be an image, and then when someone clicks it, it can be a link to anything. It can be a new web page, or it could be a link to a video. It could be whatever you want. And then we have this little div for our audio, which is very beautiful. That can be whatever you want. It could be a message of you saying, hey, welcome to my website, hang out, stay a while. And then we have our index of links, directing people to where else we are on the web, what else we've posted to our website. And finally, this little div for little life updates, things we want to put out into the world, our little blog. You know, today I went for a bike ride. It was really nice. John said he got a new helmet and it is purple. Perfectly good blog post. Or just fill it up with lorem ipsum. And that'll do as well. But yeah, so that's our website. We did it. Thank you so much. I hope this has helped you. And I hope learning all these little elements has been helpful. And I hope I was a decent teacher. I haven't done one of these before, so I hope it was somewhat useful. And the code will be in the description. And you can do what you want with it from here on out. Hey, so it's actually the next day, but I'm just filming this outro. I hope that was fun to watch, whether you're a beginner or someone experienced. I feel like it's still kind of fun to watch someone code their own website, you know, because everyone has a different approach. So hopefully my approach was like extremely inspiring. Link me to any web pages you make in relation to, oh, I have a fruit sticker on my sleeve. Link me to any web pages you make out of this template, or even not with this template. I love just looking at websites, so send me anything you make. They won't show up in the comments, but I can copy and paste, I think, because I have links blocked because there's terrible robots in the world. There's a lot of like video tutorials for coding online, but a lot of them are just like so boring to watch. So hopefully add a bit of flair, a little fun, a little bit of spunk, a little bit of like snake earrings to the experience, and that'll be fun. So yeah, let me know if this was enjoyable at all. Send me your websites. .com. Bye. Subscribe, comment, like, please. Please subscribe, comment, and like. Can we get this video to 1 million likes? Okay, bye.